Good morning and welcome. My name is Tegan Moline and I serve on their Fellowship Board of Directors. I want to thank all of you for being here today and extend a special welcome to any visitors. If you would like more information about the fellowship, please visit the welcome table in the fireside room or sign our virtual guestbook at uufames.org/guestbook. Whether you are joining us here in Fellowship Hall or from home this morning, we invite you to stay after the service for coffee fellowship, where you can introduce yourself and join in conversation with kindred spirits. This morning, we have an announcement from Larry Kierson.
Good morning, I'm Larry Kierson. I am a member of your endowment committee. And if that has a familiar ring, it should, because it was just 5 weeks ago today from this very spot that Dave Fox, who is the chair of our endowment committee, announced the start of a campaign to raise $150,000, which would be used to back up the normal operating budget for the purpose of funding our new religious educator. So now I am here today to announce the successful completion of that campaign and to offer it as a celebration for the entire congregation. It is truly a wonderful accomplishment, not for the endowment, but for the fellowship and for what it means to the future of this organization. So this is a big thank you to all of you who made this successful campaign what it is, and we look forward to the start of our new religious educator in just a few weeks. Thank you all.
So on behalf of this caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you into this sacred space. Here, we invite you into an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
Our opening words today are in the form of questions that I'd like us to consider as we talk about the First Amendment. Actually, we're not going to talk about it as much as we're going to act out, and have some fun and frivolity, okay? So if you're here wanting me to drone on and on for 30, 40 minutes, you're not going to get that. So I'm sorry if I disappoint you. Yeah. But let me provide a little background first, okay? Way back in 2002, the First Amendment Center had surveyed people in the United States, and they came out with one of the things that I thought was atrocious was that it says that the people in the survey said the First Amendment gives us too much freedom. Okay? So we have a survey of Americans who are saying that the amendment that gives us our democracy really has too much freedom. So I had gone in and I had been talking about this, and all of a sudden, the John Amy, the director of the journalism school where I was working at Iowa State here, said, "Can you we need to spend $15,000. Can you do that?" I gulped and then says, "I probably could." So I did some more research, and we settled on creating the Iowa State's annual First Amendment celebration, which has been going on now for more than 20 years. We made that decision because those 20 odd years of annual surveys by the First Amendment Center kept showing us that only 2 to 3, and at the most 8% of America could name all 5 freedoms in the First Amendment. So only a few of them knew how many freedoms were in it. So after looking at the surveys, the first thing I had to figure out was, how many freedoms does the First Amendment have? I didn't know either. And I'd been a journalist or a journalism educator for 30 years by that time. So I started studying the First Amendment. And the fact that few people in the United States knew how many freedoms and what those freedoms are worried me a lot. Because without the First Amendment, we would not have any kind of democracy to call the United States. That's because you can't have a democracy without wait a minute. I think we're to the questions now. So let me ask you, how many freedoms are in the First Amendment? How many people know how many freedoms are in the First Amendment? Don't be afraid, and nobody else knows either. So, so even in a UU, we don't have everybody knowing that. So, and how many of those freedoms can you name? 3? Okay. Okay. So it's time to start our education of the First Amendment, looks like. So let me tell you one more thing, actually a couple more things. I've learned about educating people about the First Amendment. If you talk about it, people go to sleep, okay? So we're not gonna talk about it. So we're not gonna be droning on and on today about the First Amendment. We will provide you all with some excitement, some fun, some frivolity, enough so that you will all remember, hopefully, all the freedoms in the First Amendment. And how do we know all that? There'll be a test afterward. No, just kidding. No test. But I do want you to know that it's a good thing we're UUs, because I'm not sure we'd be able to do what we're about to do at any other religious organization on a Sunday morning. So, and one last thing before we get started, I want to make sure that all you know that we haven't forgotten the Zoom gang. Dan Howe back there is in charge of making sure they know and participate and are part of this. So we've got this all planned out so they will be able to play with all their First Amendment freedoms too. So let's get started with the real stuff. Our chalice lighting today is the actual words of the First Amendment. See if you can count the freedoms. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or bridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Get all 5? So, all right. Redress of grievances. Is that not the greatest clause there is? Okay. Our opening song today, number 121, We'll Build a Land. Now rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing.
This Our time for all ages today is Free for You and Me by Christy Mihaly and illustrated by Manu Montoya. Our country's free. What does that mean for you and me? You can't say that. Yes, I can. It's a free country. Let's go back to when the United States was first created. We declared our independence from the far-off British throne. For ourselves and our descendants, we would write laws of our own. And so we wrote the Constitution, forming a new government, with rules for every institution, Congress, courts, and president. This document would rule the nation, but there was still more work to do. Then we had the inspiration to add a list of freedoms, too. The First Amendment's 5 protections guard free speech, free press, and more. Our liberty to state objections helps democracy endure. Freedom of religion. The Constitution makes this clear. Every faith is welcome here. Does not just one our laws protect, for all alike deserve respect. When President George Washington visited Newport, Rhode Island in 1790, the people of the Jewish synagogue there had a question for him. Mr. President, under this new United States Constitution, will our religion be protected? Yes, of course. You're welcome here no matter what religion you follow. The government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should conduct themselves as good citizens. This means that each of us can pray and celebrate in our own way. Freedom of speech. Because no one is always right, our founders wisely stated, we'll make sure everyone can speak, so thoughts can be debated. The First Amendment says that you can share your point of view, agree or disagree, discuss, say what you think is true. In 1798, Congressman Matthew Lyon was arrested for criticizing President John Adams. I was in jail for 4 months for insulting the president. That's wrong. I have freedom of speech. But he was still reelected to Congress. I'm out. In the next election, I'm voting for Thomas Jefferson to be president. Thomas Jefferson beat John Adams. He's the new president. I promise I'll be president for everyone. And by the way, the First Amendment guarantees that Americans have freedom of speech. As I always say, Americans are entitled to think freely and to speak and to write what they think. And if we listen carefully to one side then the other, we'll have the chance to understand and learn from one another. That book looks boring. But I like that book. Can't we read it, please? I can say what I think about it. Of course you can. It's a free country. If you haven't heard the book, how do you know if it's good or bad? Mr. Vargas, please read that book to us. Then we will know if we like it. Freedom of the press. In a democracy, people need news. Facts to consider when forming their views. That's why reporters keep track of events, asking hard questions to help things make sense. They tell us the facts of the world on our screens and in podcasts and papers and news magazines. Knowledge is power. Free press is the key. We must know the truth if we want to stay free. Look, this newspaper says the mayor is planning to close our playground, and he wasn't going to tell anyone. Oh no, that's terrible. I'm glad the reporter found out the truth. And then she wrote it in her newspaper story. Now we can try to save our park. I bet the mayor is mad. Do you think the reporter was afraid she'd get in trouble? It's a free country. That means she got the facts. When she got the facts, she could put them in the paper. Freedom of assembly. Freedom of assembly means Americans can show, with marches and with rallies, what they want the world to know. Let's have a demonstration. We'll gather those who care to sing, parade, and protest, and make others more aware. Freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances. When we want to tell our leaders that they're doing something wrong, we can bring them a petition, and they'll hear our voices strong. Politicians need to hear us. We're the ones they represent. Our leaders keep their jobs only if we give consent. Redress means when you fix something or make it better, and a grievance is a complaint or a problem. Like closing the playground? Right, and we're asking the mayor to fix that. Sign here. Freedom of religion, of speech and of the press, the right to peaceful meetings and the right to seek redress. These 5 important freedoms are democracy's foundation. Know these rights, defend them, and we'll build a stronger nation. Thank you. And now, we will sing, now we'll sing the kids back to their chairs. We don't have childcare this morning. And in our reading today, excuse me, things happen when you drop your papers. Our reading today is The Limits of Tyrants by Frederick Douglass. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. And if you wish to stay in the front, you're welcome to, or if you wish to go to your seat, you're welcome to do that too, okay? They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what the people will submit to, and you have found the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed on them. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Thank you. And now David Slade will share a generosity moment with us.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, not in the order of service, but added. So as my generosity teammates can attest, I've wanted to share a pep talk about values with the fellowship for a long time. Happened to occur today, which is a great coincidence because for 2 reasons. One is the perfectly aligned content of today's service, pure coincidence. And the other is a recent decision by the Unitarian Universalist Association to continue considering a proposed revision to the UUA bylaws that would in effect replace our 8 principles with 6 values. Now these revisions haven't been approved yet, they're just underway, but the proposal to focus on the concept of values indicates a significant evolution to me. Also significant was a statement by the newly elected president of the UUA, Reverend Sophia Bettencourt, that our values are under attack. I think this is an important way to see things. So acknowledging that many of us here are guided by and nourished by shared values is a critical first step in the process of recognizing that the fundamental conflict underlying so much of the obvious discordance in America today is actually about which values will be used to guide and nourish or malnourish our country in the future. If you haven't already considered this, please consider the suggestion that more than anything else, we're collectively engaged in a fight over values. I believe the clashes in our public forum over specific issues are really just symptoms or outgrowths of fundamental differences in values held by the different factions in our country. And whenever a societal or legal change occurs that seems unfathomable to us, that really just means our values lost a fight against other values that are unfathomable to us. So in some ways, it's been a tactical mistake by us, by our side, to approach each unthinkably awful proposal as a specific problem to be addressed directly, rather than as a manifestation of malignant values that need to be countered with nourishing values in a broader and deeper way. But we can't help ourselves because the proposals are just so awful. We get distracted. So it might help if we acknowledge that the other side of this has, metaphorically speaking, spent the last 5 decades or so building a mighty fortress out of their malignant values, while we've been scurrying around outside using all our resources trying to help and rescue as many victims of that dark fortress as we can. But it appears we're losing ground, and I believe we need to consider additional tactics. So one option while we continue trying to help all the victims of that malignant fortress is to begin intentionally expanding our own benevolent fortress of nourishing and sustaining values. And it's time to consider the possibility that our participation here at the fellowship could be part of a values propagation movement, rather than just an exercise in individual sanctuary. And what more can the fellowship offer beyond satisfying a personal need to connect and commune with others? It's not just a sanctuary for us as humans, it's also a repository for our values, which need protection. And it can be an incubator too. And we, both as individuals and collectively, can intentionally spread our values to others, with the fellowship and the UUA amplifying our capabilities. The insight that grassroots values can be propagated and institutionalized into societal norms and policy through churches was kind of a breakthrough idea long ago by those on the other side of our country's value divide. And they undertook the long, slow work of building that malignant fortress, I call it. Because of that long work, we're now watching our values losing to theirs in the public forum, even though I believe a majority of people would greatly prefer that ours were guiding the progress of our country and state instead. It's time to take a page from their playbook and begin intentionally protecting and propagating our values. And this requires intentionality. I think we've lacked. See this as an actual initiative. We need to take advantage of the amplifying power of the fellowship and the UUA rather than relying on what we see as the obviousness of our values. I hope next year the UUA finishes the process of converting our principles into compelling values. And I really hope we can build a mighty fortress of and for them. So as I stand here today, I have no idea what this would look like in reality. I'm just providing a call to begin trying to change how we see our predicament and the opportunities we have to help. All I know for sure is that we need to begin approaching the challenge with a broader perspective. Let's think bigger together. Let's acknowledge that we're now engaged in a fight over values as much as over policies. As we all know, the stakes couldn't be higher. Thank you.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. It's a tradition in this community to take a moment to share our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. This is a time for personal sharing. If you'd like, you may come, for those here in the fellowship hall, you may come forward to the microphone, state your name, share a joy or sorrow, and I will light a milestone candle for you. And then we will switch to our online community. And if there's no one here in the fellowship hall, we will switch to our online community for your joys and sorrows. I will light a candle for any joys and sorrows that were left unspoken, that we hold gently in our hearts. Let us remember those who are joyful and those who struggle. In this community, no one needs to make the journey alone. Let us share a moment of silence, followed by a meditation song, number 168. You don't need to rise.
We will take one more step till there is peace for us and everyone. We'll take one more step, one more word. We will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word, one more word. We will say one more word till every word is shared by everyone. We'll say one more word, one more song. We will sing one more song till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Our responsive reading today is number 586 in your hymnal, The Idea of Democracy. A labor is the common burden of our race. So the effort of some to shift their share of the burden onto the shoulders of others is the great durable curse of the race.
As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master.
This expresses my idea of democracy. Whatever differs from this, to the extent of the difference, is no democracy.
Our reliance is in our love for liberty. Our defense is in the spirit which prizes liberty as a heritage of all people in all lands and everywhere.
Destroy the spirit, this spirit, and we have planted the seeds of despotism at our own doors.
Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves and cannot long retain it.
Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world?
Let us have faith that right brings might. And in that faith, let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it.
We'll now have the offertory. Please know that this morning, half of the non-pledge offering will be donated to Prairie Flower Children's Center. Prairie Flower has offered nature-based, child-led preschool and after-school programming in Ames for over 25 years. Their mission is to strengthen connections to community and the natural world while nurturing the innate capacities for imagination, and wonder, and instilling a sense of unconditional belonging. The other half of the offering will support programs here in our fellowship hall that make this a community of transformation. We'll pass the basket here in Fellowship Hall, but for those at home, you can visit uufames.org/give to make your contribution today. If you are visiting today, please know that your presence here is gift enough.
All ye here know that I am your benevolent dictator. And these are my benevolent enforcers, we might say, to make sure I maintain my title as benevolent dictator. But the voting, I want to thank you so much for all of you voting for me. The vote was unanimous. I don't know if you knew, but and you see my crown, and not one but two gavels. So I'm pretty important. All right. Now today, we are going to, let me see, some of you have a few problems with the freedoms I have provided you. You know, the freedom of, you can read newspapers and the press every day. The freedom of speech, you can say what you want to say every day. The freedom of religion. You can come here or you can go somewhere else, or you don't have to even have a religion if you don't want to. The assembly, we're here. If you don't want to be here, you may leave, but you can assemble here if you want to. And the one with my favorite words in it, petition. You know, this means you can petition for a redress of grievances. What the hell does that mean? I don't really know. No, I do. It's But you can have a grievance, you petition somebody, a representative, a senator, somebody with, in a lawmaker, legislature, governor, whatever, president. And I'm sure they're gonna take you up on this. Maybe not, but I'm a benevolent dictator with benevolent enforcers, so we today, I think we have too many freedoms. So I'm gonna allow you to vote away your freedoms in any order you want to, okay? So let's talk about the first vote. We need first vote. Jan, you ready? Ben, you ready?
Let's take a
Okay,
vote.
take a vote. How many, so what we're gonna do now is vote the freedoms. You vote them away. So, but you tell me by voting, how many people want speech, how many people want religion, press, so how many people want to vote away your freedom of speech? Raise your hand. And in the Zoom, we got.
Yeah, if we can take a moment to just remind folks on Zoom how to raise their hand. That feature exists, but they changes with every version. So if you have a mobile device, if you're on a tablet or a smartphone, you're going to find it under More. There's a set of 3 dots. I'm showing this here up on screen. So look for that 3 dots, More, and then there's a little hand icon to raise your hand. And then you do that same thing to lower your hand. So once we come to the freedom that you think, we don't really need that freedom, then raise your hand and then lower it. And so that's how, so I'll be looking for those raised hands and I'll count up your votes here online. If you are using a computer, it's a little bit different. So you're gonna look for the reactions, a little smiley face icon on the bottom bar of your screen. And then if you click on reactions, one of the options is to raise your hand and you do that again to lower your hand. So yep, look for that raise and lower hand to vote.
Thank you, Dan.
And just to clarify, good benevolent dictator,
Yes,
everybody needs to vote for at least one.
yes.
Well, get rid of something.
You only get one vote for each vote. We're gonna vote 4 times. So you vote once for, in this first round of votes. So which one do you want?
You've told us you have too many freedoms. You can tell us which one to get rid of.
I'm trying to do what you want me to do, 2 gavels. All right. How many people, are we ready to vote? Are we ready to vote? You want to think about this a minute? Go, okay. So, how many people want to vote freedom of speech off the table? Actually, more than just the table, off the,
I don't got any votes, boss.
No votes, no votes? Okay. How many people want,
We got a vote on Zoom.
do we have a Zoom vote?
We got a Zoom vote, get rid of speech.
All right, whoa.
Okay?
Religion, how many people want to get rid of religion?
Freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion,
No votes over here.
no
boss.
vote?
You have to vote for something to get rid of.
Okay, yeah. 1 vote. All right, we got 1 vote.
We got 1 vote.
We all have to be UUs.
2 votes. Religion, are you voting for religion? Okay, 2 votes.
We got 2 votes.
Okay, and how many on Zoom? All right.
None on Zoom.
Okay,
They like their religion, boss.
freedom, we got his vote, okay. Let me just say right now, my actual job, just before we vote for freedom of press, I am a journalist and a journalism educator. So there could be punishment for this next vote, depending, okay? All right, freedom of press. How many people want to get rid of it? Oh, we see.
All right,
I got 3 votes on this side, boss.
Well, 4,
Right on this
Oh,
side,
4,
boss.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 votes on this.
okay.
Oh, boy.
And 1 with exuberance. 5?
We got 9 total. 9 total in the house.
What do we got on Zoom, Dan?
2 on Zoom.
All right, all right.
Ooh.
Oh! That actually is a special number for me because I was number 11 in my short, very short experience as a high school football player. My first job I wanted was as a pro football player, but I wasn't anywhere near as good. So, all right. Assembly. I mean, if you vote assembly off, y'all can just leave, you know?
Or we
Okay.
can force them to stay.
Yeah.
I can block the door.
There were some belated votes there. Yeah. Okay. You got them counted?
We got 7 total. We got 5
I
on this
got
side.
6 on this
6
side.
on this side. 8
Okay.
total.
Okay. 8 total? All right. Here we go. And
8 total there.
petition
All right, there we go. Thanks.
for, wait a minute, let me finish this. Petition for a redress of grievances, whatever the heck that means.
We don't want to hear it.
No. All right, raise your hand. Get rid of petition? Petition's looking, this is not looking promising for petition.
8 on this side.
I got 13 on this side.
Whoa. Do we know what, can anybody add that? I need, where's my adder? My mathematician? Yes, ma'am. What is it?
21, all right.
8 and 13 is 21. There we go.
And 6 online.
And 6
boss.
online. All right, here we go. So that's 27. All right. Petition,
Gone.
gone. Do you notice how that worked? All right. Next vote.
Undo. There we go.
There we go. Undo, undo.
There it is.
There he's got it. There. All right. Dan is a genius. It's nice to have a genius around. Okay. Why don't we do it the opposite way this time? Okay. All who want to get rid of your freedom to assemble, meaning if you vote this one off, you can just leave. You know?
Or we can force them to stay.
Excuse me? All right, freedom to assemble.
Round 2.
Round 2, here we go. How many wants to get rid of freedom to assemble?
Gotta vote for something.
Oh, we're thinking.
6 over here, boss.
Six over here,
3, 4, 5, 6. 6 over here.
6 over here.
12 in the house.
All right, and 5 on Zoom.
5 on.
17, all right. Remembering once again that I am a journalist and a journalism educator. Freedom of the press. How many? I don't think you like me.
Some people put their hands down, and everybody over here has their hands up at the Seven.
And I got 6 over here.
7, 13, how many do we
13 in the
have?
house, 4
And
on
4.
Zoom.
Oh, my goodness, we've got a tie. This could be a problem.
This could be a problem. You just get to decide then.
Yeah, well, duh. I like my job. Freedom of religion. You use, this is
14.
14.
14. Freedom of
All right.
religion.
All right, here we go. Dan's caught up.
boss.
7, boss.
7 on this side.
Oh my gosh, y'all are very, 14 and
2 on
2.
Zoom.
All right.
Sam Wormley has put up a coffee cup. I think that means that we should worship coffee.
Okay. 14 and 2 is, help me out here. Where's my mathematicians? 16. All right.
Oh, 14 and 1.
14 and 1?
Change their mind. Okay.
Do they, no, okay, Dan, we got,
You got it, Dan? We got 14.
okay, we got it? Okay, and freedom of speech. Who wants to get rid of that? You don't have to hear me talk anymore
You can't
if
talk
you get rid
either.
of free speech. Yeah. Well, there is that, but
Zero over here.
I had my ways.
I think we have a favorite.
I'm pretty sure that's a 0.
Yeah.
0. All right, which one do you want to get rid of, boss?
Gosh, yeah. Assembly, y'all can all leave. Assembly, we're keeping the press. Because without the press, how are you gonna know what's going on? I know, Facebook. Okay,
Round 3.
round 3. You ready? Everybody ready?
Vote one off.
Do we have people? I'm sorry, I don't like standing behind this stuff. All right, here we go. Let's go speech. Freedom of speech. How many want to get rid of freedom of speech? 2.
One over there.
Yeah, we got 2 total. 2 in the house.
Okay. And Zoom?
1 on Zoom.
1 on Zoom, okay. Freedom of religion. How many people want to get rid of that? Okay. We have 3 here.
12 over here.
And I got 13 over here, so that's 25.
Oh my gosh. All right. And last,
Everybody getting rid of the press?
remembering that I'm a journalist. Press.
We have ways.
We have ways to handle that. Yes.
We got 6 on this side.
7.
Why do you think Ben is standing here? Okay,
13 total there, Dan.
So before we get rid of freedom of speech, I'd like to say that we didn't want to run games like this, taking our ways.
wait a minute. You think I just made that up in my head? I was not elected? It's okay. And so we have 2 left. Let's start with speech. How many want to get rid of speech?
Everybody's got to vote for something. Getting rid of speech or getting rid of the press?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be a landslide.
2, 3. Let's see, 3
Okay.
total.
All right. And I'm not even going to look. I'll turn my back. Press.
Oh, there's a lot to count.
Oh, the question was, do you like me? Raise your hand if you like me, okay?
I think I got 20 on this side, so.
I got 1,000. Okay, 30, okay, there we go. All right, so press is gone. So we have speech left, but we have to get rid of it too. You don't have to vote on this one. Let's just say this is one you don't have to vote on. Okay. How many people want to get rid of the freedom to speak?
Maybe I'll find one for it, because it's the last
Yeah,
round.
yep, yep.
What else are you
Yep.
gonna do?
You don't have to vote for it. Let me, as you're benevolent, is that a yes?
No.
That's a no. Oh, yeah, that's a stand-up no.
I'm here-
Stand-up
I'm
no.
here to dissent here.
Yeah. Well, the key here is that you did not elect me to be your benevolent dictator. So as your benevolent dictator, I am going to get rid of speech, but I'm going to do it nicely. So, is everybody okay with that? What are that? Are we all right with that? Okay. Done. So, and this is not, let me just, go ahead and when we talk about what their, and it's not their favorite, but what the most important freedom is, speech, except for one time. Speech always, this is, and I'm basing this on the surveys that the First Amendment Center did from 2002 until about 2 years ago, 2021. And these are all their, we're basing the thing I based this lecture on, or not lecture.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. Presentation, it was always, except 1 year, speech was always the last to go. Okay, when you had, except, in other words, they did a survey of Americans, and the speech was always, except for 1 year, the most popular, and oftentimes it was the only freedom that had more than 50% on it. So of people saying, yes, keep it. So this is not unusual, usually it's petition, because nobody really knows what petition is, but does everybody, you know what petition is, right? Petitioning, you're petitioning your government, your representative is saying, I want you to vote this way. I want you to, do this bill and stuff like that, so. Or sign online petitions, yeah. Okay. Okay, assembly is here, obviously. We can assemble wherever we want to. We can assemble at, oh my God, it goes back to the college days, my college days at the University of Texas. It didn't take anything for us to assemble, like thousands to assemble for pretty much, they were firing a history professor. And 5,000 people showed up to protest that. So it's like, I was one of them too, so he was good. Anyway, so assembly, press, religion, speech, okay? That's hopefully your understanding of what those are is a little bit better than it was when you got here. Okay. We're now, if you will, rise and in body or spirit, we will sing our closing song, number 188. The closing words today are from Gene Polizinski, essentially my mentor in First Amendment celebrations. He was a senior fellow for the First Amendment at the Freedom Forum and president and chief operating officer of the Freedom Forum Institute. Gene also was the first person I called when we here at Iowa State started our annual First Amendment celebration back in 2002. And has been a great friend and mentor ever since. Plus, he's writing RAGBRAI. So, here's his words. The First Amendment really drives our democracy. It really fuels change. It's the way we talk to each other freely without government getting in the way. But in the end, it's really what the founders provided for us to talk to each other to get the best possible solution to the greatest number of people in the shortest amount of time. I think that was their wish in how we use the First Amendment. To me, that's always been the fundamental reason for having it. Gentle people, go in peace.